I am so glad you're here. Welcome in, everybody. It's March, and it is PoE people with PoE madness and a whole lot of information. My name is Pete Hollenhorst. I work in new business development with Intellinet Network Solutions, where we're connecting great people with even better products. One of the reasons why you're here is to get some information about PoE++. So do me a favor, if you've got any questions or you've got any feedback, there's two ways to get a hold of us. Go right up there in the upper right-hand side, and there's a question box where you can type in any type of question, and that'll come out to our dedicated staff. You can always chat with us as well, but again, there's never a bad time to interact with us. What a great opportunity. We're in the middle of March. We're just past that St. Patrick's Day. It's warming up, and we're into that kind of erratic weather. Wow, erratic weather. To this week, it went from 30 degrees on Sunday, and by the following Sunday, it's going to be 102 here in North Texas. Um, we're with you. We understand what it is that you're going through, and goodness gracious, we're going to get so busy here in the upcoming months. We're going to get into dads and grads and Mother's Day. We've got spring break, and then that big push to get into the summer installs that are there. So sit back and relax. We're here with you. We want to support you. We're going to talk about the difference between PoE, PoE++. We're going to get into a whole lot of technology. And most of all, we're going to support you in a big way. So at the end of the day, we're here to support the everyday installer. Whether you're here from a CEDIA or a security network area, we've got products that are designed for the daily use that are out there, essential products that you're using every single day. One of the big goals that we have in this webinar series is to identify those key SKUs that an installer is habitually using and trying to demystify and offer some tips, some tricks, and more importantly, some information about how to deploy this in the field. We know the product and how to champion it because we know the channel. We've taken a leadership position again and again and again. So, when it comes to installation of these backbone products, one of the big things that we're going to get into over the course is what it is and how to install it. Now, when we talk about what it is, we've got a great comprehensive product coverage. 90% of the active and passive networking needs that you've got in the field, we can handle in-house at Intellinet. We do this through a bunch of different streamlined purchasing options, whether you want to go in-house with us, work with one of our many great distributors nationally, or with some of the associated groups like Powerhouse Alliance that's out there. We're going to provide those streamlined purchasing options. Ultimately, though, the goal is to provide reliable quality and support, and to do that in a very quick, efficient manner. We're going to provide you with phone numbers and contact information if you want to purchase or if you need additional support at the very end of the call. Now, if you're new to Intellinet, what you may not know about us is our professional networking product categories. Of course, we're here today to talk about PoE and PoE++ and what that does. Now, one of the things that I like about Power over Ethernet, or when we talk about the higher end of PoE++, is it's a simple concept that gets really tricky quickly. We're transmitting data. We've always done that over network cable, but we're also doing that with power. Now, this gives you a two-in-one, so we're simplifying the installation. We're supporting outdoor environments in a really big way. And what you may not know, in addition to our switches, we've got a variety of different patch cables and adapters. When you're dealing with fiber media that's out there, we've got so many different solutions. One of the big pro tips that I've got for you is check out our slimline cables, check out our FlexBoot solutions that are out there, and then take a look at what we can do for long distance in a big, big way. When it comes to cabling, though, we played for a very long time in the Cat 5e capability and the Cat 6 capability. But that Cat 6a and that Cat 8 really tie into the overall message of PoE++. Remember, we're not just talking about power, we're also talking about data. And when we want to run data in a rack system, devices communicating with the other, onboard storage, that's where those Cat 8 patch panels do a really great job. When we're talking about running Longer distances, this is where that Cat 6.8 is going to play a big, big difference. Now, if you're going to use patch cables, or if we're going to be talking about any of this, and obviously we want to talk about just to slim down and to bring some order into that overall chaos. So, from a patch panel perspective, um, we've got solutions in a 24, a 36, and a 48 solution. Other things that we can do, we've got a variety of different cabinets, including swing line cabinets, open air cabinets, and then our Pro line racks are just absolutely incredible. At the end of the job or during the job, we've got tools, we've got testers for network installation that are absolutely out of this world. So today we're going to talk about the PoE++ advantage. And when we do this, what we're talking about are products that the everyday AV CEDIA installer, AV integrator, and security installer are going to be able to use. We're going to talk to you about, a variety of different areas where you can build smarter, whether it's taking advantage of the higher power capacity of all the different devices that are out there, or just coming to it from a need-based perspective of higher bandwidth, making them move to gig and then to multi-gig at 2.5 and to 10 gig to take advantage of some of the converged AV needs that are going on of AV over IP with security needs as well as wireless network needs as well, and that higher bandwidth. Greater reliability is the other big reason to have two different streams combined into one, both data and power, and then using that to provide that simplified installation. Everyone is going to need this going forward, whether we're dealing with residential, commercial, or just that overall commercial network. So this session is focused on strategies that you can get through. We're going to do this in 4 dedicated parts where we're taking a body of content and we're distilling this down into installer environments. Where is it that you're going to need PoE++? What's going on inside the market and where those changes are coming through? Not just PoE and plus plus for power, but where multi-gig plays a part in PoE++. And at the very end, we'll talk to you about some of those deployment strategies. Now, the installer environment has changed so much. I mean, when we talk about IP camera systems, oh my gosh, we started off with those BNC and really, really thin cables and very grainy resolution. And this is where you'd get people saying enhance, enhance. And with those dedicated IP camera systems that are out today, they've gotten so much smarter, so much better, high resolution, and then the Panda Zoom feature is huge. Wi-Fi access points have changed quite a bit as well. I mean, when I first came in, we weren't even at gig speed. Now we're at multi-gig, approaching the thresholds of 10 gig if it's wired correctly, and you've got a router that is supporting that. AV over IP distribution is really kind of the new hotness in the big area that's out there. So 4K and 8K video distribution capability, and then access control, whether we're talking about RTI, or we're talking about Savant, or we're talking about Control 4 or Crestron, access control is a huge deal. And then all of this comes into just one overall umbrella, building that dedicated automation that's out there. So when we talk about the products for daily use, what we're ultimately being asked for from our end users and our end customers is they're asking for essential products. They're asking for something that is dependable. They're asking for something that's easy. They're asking a lot of times for a product that will evolve and scale, and then something that's going to work with all the different devices that are in-house. Rarely are we doing a full clear out. A lot of times these are takeovers. So whatever we bring in has got to be backwards compatible and future thinking. And when it comes to Intellinet, one of the things that you're going to really appreciate is that we've got those products, and these are products that installers are using every single day. Real installation environments, or what the products are designed for, not a theoretical bundle where we magically figure out how many different access points you need with So single vendor solution for both active and passive infrastructure in a variety of different ways to be able to interact again and again. So partnering with Intellinet should be comprehensive solutions and really great, dedicated, reliable support. When it comes to networking foundations, it really comes down to a dedicated area of 5 areas: PoE switching and fiber connectivity, structured cabling, dedicated rack systems, and installation tools. But all of this requires you to upgrade the overall backbone. So network infrastructure today means if we're going to utilize, and the reasons to switch off of PoE to PoE++ is multi-gigabit speeds, 2.5 gig and 10 gig switching that's out there. Higher device density. We're no longer just dealing with cameras. You're dealing with access points. You're dealing with connected devices. But more importantly, all of these things on at a greater uptime than ever before. And then the biggest thing right now when it comes to PoE++ isn't just the speeds, isn't just the device density, it's the need for better power. PoE++ is supporting Wi-Fi 6, Wi-Fi 7. It's supporting AI cameras and those AV systems that are asking for some of the highest um, power requirements that are out there. And all of these things set up market changes and installer changes in a big way. If you don't believe me, take a look at where we've come. We were dealing with Wi-Fi 5 not less than 5 years ago. And all of a sudden now, Wi-Fi 6, very prevalent on the scene. Wi-Fi 7, really growing in both indoor and outdoor. AI-enabled cameras are dominating right now as price points are coming down and power requirements are increasing exponentially. AV over IP deployments when we're talking about 4K and 8K video distribution, smart building systems. If you haven't seen some of the new MDU projects that are out there, all of these environments have a huge, huge increase in IoT and automation, all of them demanding that you get a robust switch that's able to keep up. Now, what this does for you as an installer is it prevents its own challenges. All of a sudden now, power budgets mean more than they've ever done in the past. High performance devices that are just absolutely greedy. They want the highest level of power that they've wanted in over a decade. And all of these different devices that are demanding bandwidth as well as power create bottlenecks, and it also creates complexity. And I am so sorry, the industry has done this, we've evolved. We haven't considered what this does to the overall installer. And the client expectations are never aligned with the legacy systems that they've got. It's always, we want newer, we want better, we want faster. And as installers, we want that for them. So that sets us up for that modern network architecture that's out there. Today, when we are designing an infrastructure, we want to think many birds, one stone, or said differently, one network and many systems. Today, your customers are asking for network convergence. They want integration of their AV, of their surveillance systems, of their wireless, and then all of that automation. And then from a design requirement, it requires bandwidth planning. How many? And this is one of the big reasons why I talk about FING, why I talk about just proper traffic prioritization, understanding before you're on site, doing the install, what's the type of power that we're going to need? What's the proper traffic prioritization? Do you have a layer 2 and a managed switch? And then as an installer, what can you do to cut down on the time and the complexity so that you're in and you're out on a job site? This is one of the big reasons why we're here today talking about PoE++. Standardizing on your network architecture is going to help with all of these things. Now, one of the big things is that you're probably already aware of PoE systems that are out there, but the majority of PoE today is legacy, meaning that it's just 1G or single gigabit that's out there. And I've been there, right? I'm a homeowner myself and an installer at the end of the day, but legacy gigabit networks can't support the demands of AI. It can't support the demands of Wi-Fi 7 access points and power-hungry devices that are out there. And legacy PoE don't stop the legacy PoE standards don't stop the modern high power draw that's out there, and they don't scale in a big way. So when we talk about PoE++, yes, we're talking about higher power and better power budgets and everything else, but we're also talking about multi-gig, partly because of Wi-Fi, partly because of just more data that's coming through. But a lot of it is just for the headroom of future expansion in those capabilities. When we design networks, you've heard me talk about this in the past, we want to come about this from three different steps. The edge layer, where we're talking about 2.5 gig and we're talking about PoE++, we're talking about cameras, we're talking about access points, we're talking about AV devices. But it's more than just that edge layer. And this is the difference between good, great, and absolutely amazing that's out there. That aggregation layer right now, when we bring in multiple edge switches that are using 10 gig uplinks, you're going to make sure that you don't have bottlenecks, that you're smoothing out the traffic patterns that are going on, and then finally adapting into that core layer of just the everyday where we're managing the routing, where we're managing the network services that are coming in, and we're providing that centralized management for everything across the board. Now, I've talked to you at length about where the conditions are. Let's talk a little bit about why PoE++ matters to the degree that it does. When we talk about PoE++, this is really it. Panda zoom cameras right now. What an absolute game changer that's out there to be able to do this on a single cable, um, in just an overall deployment area. Wi-Fi 7 access points, whether we're dealing with dual band or tri-band, all of a sudden now we're starting to see peak power demands at 40 watts per device. Now that's not an everyday, that's not an all day, but peak power consumption at 40 watts. And if you don't have that in your power budget, all of a sudden you've got problems. You're bringing in injectors, you're bringing in a second layer switch, you're increasing the overall cost. The other one would be AV over IP encoders, high resolution in a big way, and then LED displays as well. PoE++ plays a big part and will continue to as we're starting to see both in lighting and in shades. It's not just power, it's also, I'm sorry, it's not just data, it's also power. So kind of a real world setup that I'd love for you to be able to see right now, real power design for an installer. Then I'll just start with my house, right? We're talking about 4 dedicated Panda Zoom cameras, and that's if I've got a camera on every single corner of the house that's out there. But these are power hungry. So at 45 watts each, we're at a total of 180 watts with just 2 access points in a 2,600 square foot house. All of a sudden, we're talking about at 40 watts each, we're talking about 80 watts. So doing that math, 80 watts plus 180 watts for the camera, we're at 260 watts. We're pushing kind of that theoretical edge that's out there. So you want to break that math down, calculate the total device power and the requirements before you get on site. Plan for an additional 20% because again, the stated running doesn't always account for peak. So you want to have that headroom for future expansion. Then verify your switch power budget so that it matches the overall needs, and then consider power redundancy for critical installation. Such a big thing if you're dealing with, and you have to live there to really understand it. But being on the East Coast and now in the Central, these storms are no joke and taking things offline. So having that power redundancy is a big thing. The other area, when we talk about PoE++ is the long distance PoE deployments, perimeter surveillance. I didn't understand until I started to live in some of these environments. If you're on multi-acre property, having a camera at the back gate is huge. All of a sudden, I know why the dogs are barking. I know exactly to step out and to get the horse trailer up and ready to go. A perimeter surveillance it gives peace of mind. You've heard me talk as well ad nauseum about parking lots. It's probably going to be my big thing in 2026 is exactly where can you go and what are the new types of jobs for residential and commercial. But I'm such a big fan of parking lots and parking structures that are out there. You know, with parking lot cameras, you get into a parking lot garage and parking lot cameras that come through. We're going to blow past that 100-meter requirement. Having higher wattage is a big deal. Now, again, you know, whether we're dealing with residential or commercial, that gate access control is huge. Power becomes a big thing. And then wireless bridges. Goodness gracious, I deal with more wireless bridges today than I ever have in the past. But, you know, deploying point-to-point wireless links is great, but you're going to need higher power cabling to be able to do all of these things. So let's talk about, you know, from a switch perspective, some of the things that are out there that you can utilize right now. I wanted to take you down this journey a little bit on PoE plus switches that are out. So I'm going to give you 4 solutions, but I'm going to be transparent. One of my absolute favorites right now is SKU number 562003. I'm going to say that again so you can write it down. 562003. This is a 242 watt, 10 port managed PoE switch. Now I like it because of the power budget at 242. What I love though is that this is a managed switch. It's a full layer 2 management switch, but I love the VLAN capability. And we'll talk about good network architecture in a second about why that's such a big deal. And this, for the price point that it's at, is just the absolute Swiss Army knife. If you're working in a moderate setting, 562003 is something that you want every single time out there. Now, maybe you don't need a managed switch. I would argue that you do, but if you don't need a managed switch, 562355 does a great job as well. At 240 watts, again, no slouch. It matches up to where the 003 is. But what you're getting here is a dedicated 10-port unmanaged PoE switch, and you've got that plug and play capability. And maybe you don't need all of this, right? You know, you don't need the 10-port, you don't need management. This is where the 562010 comes into play. I like this piece. It's simple, it's easy. This is great for residential. Get into a structured wiring cabinet, and this is going to do everything that you're looking for with both power and data, and it's got a really nice compact form factor, and it's one of the reasons why we selected it for this presentation. Now, one of the big areas, and again, I didn't even know that I needed this until I started to do outdoor, especially with cameras, everything that we're doing is PoE enabled cameras. But I've got this really nifty solution. This is an outdoor switch. This is 509220. This has one dedicated PoE++. And again, when we talk about point to point, things like that. Now, it is a switch. There's other ports, but again, because we're just talking about PoE++, 509220 is huge. This is weather resistant. It's IP65 rated. It's unobtrusive. It's got that just kind of blended in the background white that does a really great job. So my 2 picks out of this, all 4 are great, but if I were adding to my truck and 2 pieces that had to be at every install, 562003 for that managed switch at 242 watts, 509220 for that dedicated outdoor PoE pass-through. What an absolute home run. These 2 SKUs combined, there's not much that you're not going to be able to do in a residential area. Now, a lot of times we're doing takeover jobs. We're dealing with something with a lot higher wattage or data components, and this is where injectors come into play. I like injectors to round out a job, not to start a job. We're in the verge of a takeover. So this is where 561945 comes in, and I really want to give Ian here at Intellinet a lot of credit. He's been such an advocate for this piece. This is a 95 watt PoE++ injector. This has got maximum power that's out there, and where applications why obviously high voltage at 95 watts, panda zoom cameras with heaters and fans, you know, go through a northeast winter that's out there. Wireless bridge installations. I'm talking about you down in the Carolinas for your boat houses. I'm talking about, you know, anybody that's got a pasture or a barn that's out there, or those single high-powered device retrofits. Get into a museum, get into a restaurant that needs something like that. A lot of times, though, we're not just dealing with dedicated switches. A lot of times, we're not dealing with injectors. Sometimes it's distance. And this is where an extender really comes into play. Now, remember that, the signal only carries on Cat 6A up to 100 meters. These devices can help extend even further. So to go from 100 meters to 300 meters, this is where the 561, 617 comes in. Again, just a simple 5-port switch. I'm a big fan of it because we're going to take all that power that's coming in at the end of 100 meters and we can take that, we can push that to a total of 300 meters. Now, the big Mac Daddy, when we're talking about those gates, when we're talking about just a single camera in a back pasture, is 560962. I love this for gate and fence line access control. I love this for surveillance coverage in a parking lot garage. Here, we can get a maximum extension, just an absolute flamethrower for distance of up to 500 dedicated meters that are out there. So when we come to remote perimeter camera installations, this is the prize pick, 560962. You want this every single time. Now, best practices. A lot of times manufacturers do these webinars and they don't talk to you about all the different types of things that you need for success. We're going to make sure that we talk about those things here. So using solid copper Cat 6A, it's a big deal. You're going to see cable and you're going to think, oh, it's just cable. The rep at the counter told me it was going to be just fine. Is it solid copper cabling or is it a mixture? Is it a blend? And one of the big things that you get working with Intellinet is you're getting solid copper Cat 6A in our cabling. One of the big things when we're talking about deployment practices, if you're going to need all this power, make sure that you're starting with the cleanest plate that's out there. Make sure that when your guy is coming through and specifying, when we're doing the initial bid, do we understand how all of these different devices that are being set up, do we have an accurate power budget that's out there, and does the switch capacity work before deployment? Big fan of pre-configuration. Load testing during the install. Do you have the appropriate amount of power? What does it look like when it's booting up? What does it look like, when we're moving the camera from left to right? What does it look like under high density from an access point environment? And then surge protection outdoors, something that doesn't get talked about enough. But surge protection is a huge deal when we go outdoor. Category or cable category selection is huge, making sure that we're using Cat 6A and specifying this every single time. This is how you get power delivery up to 100 meters. Cable quality matters, making sure that you're not using CCA or that copper clad aluminum. All cables aren't created equally in proper cable management. This means making sure in the racks that we're using something like our Slimline Flex boot so that we're getting a really good bend radius, but we're not breaking the cable. Avoid running PoE cables parallel to high voltage power lines so that there's no bleed over transmission, and using proper cable supports. Please don't cheap out, and then don't over tighten your dedicated cable ties that are out. And then just from a network segmentation, big thing, right? Making sure that we're setting up for surveillance and something on a dedicated VLAN just for surveillance. Making sure that we're merging any offsite folks on their own guest Wi-Fi VLAN as well, and management VLAN, separating front of house from back of house and from just temporary areas that are out there. I cannot stress enough the need for a managed switch. Yes, even in a residential environment, making sure that we've got something for quality of service and traffic prioritization that's out there. So key takeaways, what you should have got from what we've gone through today. Multi-gig switching is here. 2.5 gig at edge, 10 gig for aggregation, and making sure that we've got a ton of power to be able to support APs, AV devices, control systems. That means not PoE, but PoE++. Standardizing on your architecture right now going through with any of those 4 switches or any of the extenders that I just went through add up to a simplified deployment, which means lower labor costs and faster installation. You're getting a reliable network with better uptime than you previously have had. You're future-proofing your installation. We've got a variety of different ways to interact with us in terms of resources and support, and then more importantly, the next steps for your installers. Take a look at what you've got in the hopper. If you don't see an opportunity for PoE++, we should talk, because I want to talk to you about 2.5 gig. I want to talk to you about 10 gig. I want to talk to you about cameras. I want to talk to you about how many access points today, but how many access points really today and tomorrow. Let's make sure that we're calculating accurately. If you're a technician, are you understanding the difference between regular run and peak power usage? Standardizing your architects. Go back to your specifiers. 3-layer network design. 3-layer network design. I'll say it again, 3-layer network design for repeatable deployments. And then partner with us. We want to be able to work with you. We're right here at every single place. Now, what this matters, why this matters today is when we talk about PoE++, what we're really talking about is a one cable solution that has evolved with the standards. And the standards changed. Modern device support today, whether we're talking about Wi-Fi 6E, Wi-Fi 7, Panda Zoom cameras, and any other higher power endpoints, it's a big deal. We've got a variety of different SKUs that we've gone through today, all that support. Now, if you want a better breakdown of this, Don's done a great job of 2.5 gig switch breakdown in a big way. Really, really good job that's out there. Our field crew is an amazing opportunity for you to grow and support with us, where we've got that commitment to partner success. We're here doing these types of trainings. We're providing white papers. We're providing documentation. We want to help you grow. And we're doing that through these webinars, through cross promotions, through bi-monthly dealer direct engagements that are out there. We're doing that by providing those core SKUs and the emphasis on the essential products like what we're talking about today. Now, there's a couple of great ways to interact with us. If you're watching this on replay, it's a great opportunity either to grab the mouse and get ready to hit pause, or if you're watching this on screen through a laptop, grab your phone, the camera open, and we're going to shoot some QR codes to you. This is our Performance Pro program, an opportunity for professional recognition, dedicated supports, and great installation tips, product updates, and network building that's out there. Shoot this QR code, and we would love to work with you. You can always reach us on our tech support hotline at 1-888-844-2636, and that's available to you Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. But some great social media capabilities as well. We have a dedicated Facebook page where you can come in for tips, tricks, ideas, updates on new SKUs, things like that. LinkedIn professionally, we'd love to continue to update you in terms of webinars, new releases, but also just a great way to engage with us and to be seen by potentially a larger audience. Of course, our website does a great job if you're looking for updated catalogs, technical specs, support resources, or other company information. Does a great job as well. And again, our customer service number, Don always does these great jobs of, where you can reach in, watch any of his videos on our YouTube channel, or call him at 1-888-844-2636. Now, if you need to get a hold of sales, you can always contact us at 813-855-0550. Again, the technical support number is up, and if you just want to go old school and send us an email, you can reach us at sales@icncom.com. So why choose Intellinet? We offer reliable products, and some of those include PoE switches, network equipment, data center solutions, racks, mounts, cables. Oh my. Get great expert support. We do these webinars once a month on a relevant topic, but we've also got a lot of different white papers, podcasts on our website. If you need additional support, we're here. And we are focused on the industry because we are the industry. We come from these backgrounds. We've worked in this environment for really, really long. My name's Pete Hollenhorst, and it's been a pleasure to work with you today. What a great opportunity we've had talking about networking, talking about PoE++, what it is, what it isn't. We offered a variety of different switches. We talked to you about extenders. And more importantly, we talked to you about investing in future growth for you, the installer. Be good to one another, be good to yourselves, and we will see you again shortly in the month of April. My name is Pete, and have a